Hi there, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about 5 more photos from my catalog, give you a little insight into what the experiences were like. Today I'm going to talk about Bradley Cooper, Lily Tomlin and Jane Fonda, DMX, Dev Patel, and one of my all-time favorites, Willie Nelson. I really wanted to talk for a minute about this picture of DMX, but also DMX in general. I'm not going to say that DMX was my friend, because that's not the case, but I did photograph him 4 or 5 times. We came from such opposites, different upbringings, different cultures, but still we had a lot of common ground, and I just loved being in his company. This particular shot was for the Source magazine back in the day. DMX was a little bit late, as you can see by the sun setting when we were supposed to shoot in the morning, but you know, and it happened to be April 1st when we were shooting this job, and we're, you know, hip hop back in the day, we're waiting for talent, ready to go, and I'm standing next to the director of photography for the magazine, and she's in touch with his people and with him, what's going on, you know, everybody's getting a little uptight, where is he, and the phone rings and she picks it up, and hey, it's X. And I can hear, like, it's so loud that I'm not on speaker, but I can hear it. And she goes, hey X, we're here, we're ready, you on your way, you close? And he goes, where's my dogs at? And she goes, like, your dogs? And I can see like the blood draining from her, and he goes, yeah, I need my dogs on the shoot. My dog's there. And she's like, X, we don't have dogs here. You didn't ask for dogs. And he's like, April Fool. See you in 5 minutes. Bye. And that was it. Just to watch the color drain out of this director of photography and the panic start to rise, and to be visually able to see that. And the rub of this story is I married that director of photography, and she is my wife today. When X actually got there, and he was a professional, he knew what to do. There was not a lot of messing around. We had some sound system, and you know, what do you want to listen to? And he says, I got a new track. And we put on his new track, and he starts moving. That was really bad impersonation. Don't let me ever dance on camera. But he started rapping to this track, and loud and intense. And we're, you know, I'm standing like 10 feet away with my camera. And it was just a personal performance from DMX. And the hair rises on the back of my neck when I think about it. It was so powerful and so intense, and just phenomenal experience. Gave me a glimpse really into what rap and hip hop culture was about that I didn't really have before that. And once again, that's, you know, the photo's the photo, but the experience of making it and being there and doing it is what it's all about. You're gonna photograph Bradley Cooper, and you don't really know too much about him, but what I do know is that my wife absolutely loves him. So I was a little on edge. Given an address in Hollywood, go there, 2 o'clock. I had about 3 or 4 hours before my flight. I go to this address, I don't know where I'm going, and I get there and it's his house. And I get out my bags and I kind of struggle up the steps towards the garage, and then Bradley Cooper appears, and I'm like dagger eyes, you know, how dare you be so handsome. And he says, you by yourself? And I go, yeah. He goes, come on in the house. So we go in the house and we do these photographs, and I take a couple of images, and I just think, that's why my wife absolutely loves you. You are so handsome. So we hang out, we talk, and I'm looking at my watch, and I think I really should get out of here about right now. It's really time for me to get into the airport. And I thought, wait a minute, I'm hanging out with Bradley Cooper in his house, having a nice chat. I can miss my plane. And I did. People ask you how you find your style, what is your style? And to be brutally honest, it's not something I really think about. I just have some kind of connection to the way this photograph looks. And if I really try and define it, it's about the narrow depth of field, it's about the f2, it's about the way that the image seems to have a 3-dimensional feel. This is the portrait that achieves that for me. We just did a video on F2 and why I like F2 and why I like to shoot wide open. I probably should have showed this photo because this is a great example of why I love shooting wide open. So it just works for me, and I think it helps define my style. You know, sometimes you come into the studio and you're faced with such a force that even somebody like me who fakes not being nervous is just completely petrified by the situation. And Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin just blew me so far off my game. The personalities were so big and everybody felt it, and it was just this incredible energy in the studio. And this photo actually wasn't supposed to happen. I was never supposed to photograph the two of them together. Now what happened was, I photographed Miss Tomlin first, and it was great. I got some lovely photos, and the weird thing was Jane was kind of walking in the back, trying to mess up her shoot, and they had this dialogue between them that you could just tell was authentic but hysterical, like an old married couple. And we got the photos and Lily looked great, and then Miss Fonda sat down for her photographs, and she sat down and she's doing all her poses, and Lily just grabbed an apple box from off the set, put it down right beside her and leaned in and was like, really messed with her photo shoot. So eventually I said, that looks lovely, ladies. She's got a little back to back. When I'm shooting portraits, I'm usually shooting vertical, and I'm very comfortable with that. And sometimes I forget that horizontal is an option. You know, it's like, oh, that looks good. And then when Lily sat in, I basically had, what do I do? And then I remembered super quickly to turn my camera horizontal instead of stepping back. And made a quick choice to kind of compose it like this. And there was not a lot of, thought that went into it. I just think sometimes your instincts come into play and you're like, okay, I see both faces, they both look sharp, bang, 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 bang. So not the photo I was expecting to make, but super happy I got to do it. I think one of the most difficult things about this photograph was the retouching decisions. And I was pretty much left to my own devices without any input from the client. I was tempted to keep it a little more authentic, but then when you look at all the photographs out there of Lily and Jane, that you see that their thing is to look a little younger than maybe they actually are. So I probably went a little further on the retouching here than I may have done, and I still think I kept some authenticity, but maybe it's pushed a little further than I might normally do for a portrait. Two legends, man. It's so great. I was super excited to meet Dev Patel, like really excited. I loved him in the movies I'd seen of him, and I just thought, what an incredible character. But you know, in all these situations, manage your expectations, Mark, because you might meet this guy and then go home feeling all like, but he literally bounced into the studio and he was full of energy and full of life and smiles and humor, and it was like, wow, he's kind of like he is in the movies, and he was so enthusiastic about what we were doing. And I really wanted to make a portrait that kind of showed his intelligence, his interest, and his authenticity. And that's a portrait I wanted to make, and I wasn't really getting it. I was getting a little too more posy, and I think I was maybe, we were getting on, so I think he was maybe laughing too much. I just said, okay, just, I did do this, which is so cheesy, but just look down, lean in a little bit, and just look up when you're ready. And he did, and I took the photo, and it just worked. It never works. Let me tell you, I've tried that 100 times, 1,000 times, never worked. But for Dev, it really, really worked. And ultimately, I think I managed to make the portrait that I really wanted to make. And that's why I like this picture. I think this is one of my favorite photos I've ever taken. Certainly not technically the best. It's pretty out of focus where it should be in focus. Exposure was pretty crap when I actually made it. Managed to fix it a little bit in post. But the experience of taking it and the experience of photographing Willie Nelson just is everything. So, cut a fairly long story, a little bit shorter. Part of a bigger project, and we're gonna photograph Willie Nelson. I've got my little rig set up with this ring light, my camera on it, my computer on it, and we get into the tour bus. My eyes are literally watering from the amount of weed smoke on Willie's tour bus. I mean, there's gotta be 7 people in there, all smoking, maybe 8 people, and I can't see him at the table he's sitting at. And I set up my camera and I literally have 2 feet, and he just turns towards me and I drop the background in and I'm taking photos, and I'm genuinely not sure what's happening because there's so much smoke. I think, you know, I gotta say something because I gotta get this photo. So I was like, any chance we could just open the door for a few minutes and get some of this smoke out? Everybody laughs, the door opens, I kind of begin to see, I start taking some photos, and Willie's looking super stoic and beautiful, and the braids, and just gorgeous, but I kind of want to smile. How am I gonna get a smile? I know Willie's infamous for not smiling in photographs. I said, Mr. Nelson, any chance I can see that fabulous smile I've heard so much about? And he looks right at me and he goes, I'll smile when you finish taking photos. So do a couple more, and I stand up away from my camera, keep my hand on the trigger. I said, I got it, man, thanks. Let's see that smile. And he gives me the big smile and I cheekily press the shutter, bada bing, got one shot. And that's why I love this photograph. Folks, thanks for indulging me. I love telling these stories. I really hope you like listening to them. If there's anything in my catalog that you see and you want me to talk about, please leave a comment and we'll try and include it on the next one of these that we do. Thanks again for watching. Subscribe to the channel. See you soon. Bye.